In my career, I've spoken to more than 10,000 professionals, and I've spotted a communication mistake that almost all of them make. It's a communication mistake that means their teams ignore them, their managers and their bosses overlook them for promotion, and it's why their ideas, well, just don't inspire anyone. So in this video, I'm going to show you how top entrepreneurs, business leaders, and CEOs avoid it, and how you can instantly gain more gravitas, respect, and importantly, get the promotion and salary that you deserve. So what is this mistake? Well, do you know that feeling when you click on a YouTube video to learn one simple thing, and the creator spends the first 90 seconds talking about their backstory, their upload schedule, thanking the sponsor, what they had for breakfast, and you're sitting there ready to smash the fast forward button to actually get to the part that matters. Well, that's exactly how people at work feel when you info dump. You think you're setting the stage, but everyone else, well, they're mentally reaching for the skip button, waiting for you to get to the point. And if you want to get promoted faster, you have to learn this. People want the steak and not the sizzle. They want the actual point, not the 5 paragraphs before it. Because when people hear a long runway before the message, they tune out. Exactly like you normally do here on YouTube. All right, so if this is already resonating with you, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. But if people want the steak and not the sizzle, well, how do you actually do that? Well, this is where what I call the 9-second rule comes in. It is something I teach every single client, and it instantly makes you sound more senior and important. Because here's the truth that most managers don't want to admit. If you can't explain your point in 9 seconds or less, you don't fully understand it. And to make this even clearer, if you can't explain it simply enough that a 10-year-old would get it, you definitely don't know it well enough. I am joking, but kind of. But I believe the principle is spot on. Now, most managers think being thorough means giving all the background first, all the context, every detail. But by the time they finally get to the point, the room has mentally checked out. Now, senior leaders don't have the attention span for a warm-up. They want the headline first, then the explanation. So before you speak this week, ask yourself 2 questions. What is the single point I'm actually trying to make? And can I say it in 9 seconds or less? Because once you lead with the 9-second version, everything else becomes easier. People understand you faster, they trust you faster, and you instantly sound more promotable. But here's the funny thing. Even when I started using the 9-second rule, something still wasn't landing. And it took me a while to realize why. And I remember one meeting in particular. I spent the whole meeting preparing a clean, tight 1-minute update. No fluff, no rambling, just the essentials. And I finished my summary, looked up, and the whole leadership team was staring at me. And then one of them said, "Okay, but what do you need from us?" And that's when it hit me. The issue wasn't clarity. The issue was structure. I was giving all the information, but I wasn't giving direction. I was telling them what happened, but not what mattered or what we should do next. And this is where most managers fall down. They communicate like reporters, sharing updates. But senior leaders expect you to communicate like operators, driving decisions. So I built a simple structure that fixed everything almost instantly. It turned blank stares into nods. It stopped all the follow-up questions, and it made me sound like someone who was operating one level above my role. And it's called the PISS framework. Okay, that's problem, impact, solution. And once you use it with your 9-second point, you stop sounding like an employee giving updates and you start sounding like a leader moving the business forward. So here's the PISS framework. Problem. State the issue in one clear sentence. Not the symptoms, not the backstory, just the problem. Impact. Explain why it matters. What's the consequences if nothing happens? And why should leadership care? And solution. Give your recommendation or the specific next step that moves the team or business forward. Now, here's what it actually sounds like when used correctly. Our project is running 2 weeks behind schedule. That's the problem. If we don't correct it, we'll miss the client deadline and face penalties. That's the impact. So I recommend reallocating 2 developers temporarily to get us back on track. And that's the solution. Short, clear, and actionable. It's how you turn 5 minutes of rambling into 9 seconds of leadership level communication. And when you PISS correctly, something interesting happens. Leaders stop managing you and they start depending on you. You stop sounding like someone who needs direction and you start sounding like someone who's giving direction. But even when you use the 9-second rule and the PISS framework perfectly, there's still one thing that you can do that makes people tune out. And that has nothing to do with your structure, but it is how you sound. And let me explain it this way. So you know when you go to buy a car, and before you've even sat down, the salesperson is telling you why you need this car. They walk around the car like they personally built it. They point at features that you didn't ask about. They tell you why the engine is perfect for your lifestyle. They confidently close the door like they're sealing a deal on Wall Street. And before you know it, you're nodding along, you're agreeing, you're almost convincing yourself that you need it. Now, not because the car is perfect, but because the salesperson sounded so confident describing it. And that's the power of confident communication. It makes people believe you before they process all the details. And inside companies, it's exactly the same. Now, two people can say the exact same thing, but the one who sounds calmer, clearer, grounded, and more confident, well, they get listened to, they get trusted, believe me. They get promoted. Not necessarily because they're louder, not necessarily even because they're smarter, but because they sound like they know exactly where they're going. So here are 3 quick shifts that make you instantly sound more confident when you speak. Step 1, slow down your start. Take 1 full breath before you speak. Confident people never rush. They own the silence. Step 2, lower your voice. Speak from your diaphragm, not from your throat. And step 3, don't trail off. Close strong. End with a clear recommendation, not a, yeah. Leaders don't fade out, they finish. And when you combine confident delivery with the 9-second rule and the PISS framework, you stop sounding like someone who hopes they're right and you start sounding like someone who leads. But here's the part most managers completely miss. You can speak clearly. You can use the 9-second rule. You can structure everything with PISS, and you can even deliver it with calm, confident authority, but still get overlooked. Why? Because if you're still thinking like an employee, you're always going to communicate one, even if the words sound right. And the managers who get promoted don't just speak differently, they think differently. They think about outcomes. They think in trade-offs. They think about priorities, and they think in what moves the business forward, not just what fills the airtime in a meeting. And that mindset shift, that's the real unlock. Because once you start thinking like someone who's already one level above your current title, you naturally start communicating, behaving, and leading at that level. And that's when leadership finally says, okay, they're ready. So if you want to operate like that in 2026, and finally get the promotion you know you're capable of, then you're going to want to watch this next video here. Because in it, I'm going to show you exactly how to get promoted step by step in 2026, based on what actually works, not just the generic advice that you've heard before.